Welcome to episode 11 of the Heartbeats of Adapted PE podcast. We're so excited that you are here joining us. I'm Jen Hebank, your host, and I am a full-time adapted PE teacher out of 40 minutes west of Minneapolis. And, I don't normally do this, but I feel like I'm going to pause just for a minute because even though I teach 40 minutes away from Minneapolis, I live 20 minutes away from Minneapolis. And it has been a really heavy week here in Minneapolis and in Minnesota. And we just need all of your good thoughts, prayers, and really just need some healing after this week. And I wanted to just stop for a minute and let you know that no matter where you're listening from, whether it's in the States, across the country, or maybe even in a different country, thank you for supporting this podcast. Thank you so, so much. The Heartbeats of Adapted PE podcast is a podcast that is here to connect, inspire, and amplify adapted PE teacher voices and those who support all students. We want to celebrate the heart, which is the storytelling, and the beat, which is celebrating the daily rhythms of our routine in our essential field. The Heartbeats of Adapted PE podcast will be brought to you one time per month by our sponsor, Fit and Fun Playscapes. And their mission, much like ours, is to support all students in movement. Please check them out. They're on X at Fit and Fun Play. If you listened to episode 10, our previous episode, you heard the 2026 Shape America Western District Adapted PE Teacher of the Year, Chris Ahrens, share about his time growing up with hemiplegia with cerebral palsy. He had to learn how to advocate for himself, wanted to be active, and that really kind of shaped his journey as an adapted PE teacher. We also talked about our love of soccer and how his soccer journey landed him on the U.S. CP national soccer team. And now he sits on the committee for U.S. soccer and with some very important people at that. He also shared about his Teacher of the Year process, and I would love for you to check that out. His episode is on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And now I want to introduce our next guest. She's near and dear to my heart. She's a mom of one of my former students, and I need us all to hear their family story. And I hope you guys brought Kleenex because it's good and hard and wonderful and will hit you in the heart. She is one of the most amazing advocates for her kid and a visionary for her community. I want to welcome Tonya Sands to the show. Welcome, Tonya. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks, Jen. It's great to be on here with you.
I'm so excited. Aubrey is a kid that just impacted me so deeply, and your whole family, truly, and just the way that she taught me to be a better teacher. So I'm excited to kind of hear a little bit about her story. And so I kind of just want to start out with a little bit about your guys' background and your background with your family. Can you tell us a little bit about you guys?
Yes, I'd love to. I grew up in Kansas and a suburb of Wichita. And my only experience with people with disabilities was to see those individuals walk into a classroom down my hallway at school and disappear into a classroom. And that was really my only experience with individuals with disabilities. My husband and I met in Kansas City and got married. We had our son, Austin, when we lived in Kansas City. And then when I was pregnant with Aubrey, my kids are 18 months apart. When I was pregnant with Aubrey, we moved to Oklahoma City. Lived there for about 16 months, moved to Omaha, lived there for 6 months, and then moved to Minnesota. So if you're counting, we were in 4 states in less than 3 years. Wow. So it was just a whirlwind of just before Aubrey, she turned 2 when we lived in Omaha and then moved to Minnesota. So that's kind of a little bit about just how we got started. And at 2, she was diagnosed with developmental delay, which we'll go into in just probably a little bit.
Yeah. I always tell people, like, they always say, like, how do you know your kid has a developmental delay or has a disability? And I always talk about, like, there are going to be some things with their milestones, right? Yes. But can you share a little bit about her personality? And then we'll get to, like, what that was like.
Yes. Well, when I think about Aubrey and her personality, it just brings a smile to my face because that's what happens when she enters a room. She is such a delight and joy and just brings light into every single room she enters into. She is super outgoing. Probably one of the most extroverted persons that I know. One of my favorite memories about Aubrey, when she was in middle school, I was showing her what Facebook was for the very first time. And she was scrolling my Facebook account and looking at all of my high school friends and college friends. And she just looked at me and goes, Mom, there are so many people for me to meet. So that just sums her up. Like,
Oh, so much.
cannot wait.
Absolutely. I also feel like she was a kid that when she walked into the room, she had a sixth sense for kindness. And you could just tell, like, she found the person that was the most kind and most empathetic, and then made them her best friend. Like, both ways, best friend. They were best friends.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was not a one-way friendship either. It was both, right?
Correct. Yeah. Oh, and just her ability to include people, right? Just inviting them into the activity or the event, whatever was going on. She just has that sixth sense, like you were saying.
Yes, absolutely. Can you share a little bit about Aubrey's early childhood? You said she was diagnosed with a developmental disability or delay, not disability yet.
Yes.
And what was that like? What were the motor milestones like?
Yeah. So she was born in Oklahoma City, and during some of those baby checkups, the doctors were definitely expressing some concern, but Austin didn't walk till he was 16 months. So I just kind of thought, it's no big deal. Like, babies develop at their own time. I had no idea how important milestones were. So I just kept dismissing it. But right before she turned 2, I finally just, like, in my heart realized she ran with this really irregular gait that just didn't seem normal. She only had word approximations. So her language was really delayed. And so finally I was acknowledging, like, okay, maybe those concerns, there's some reality to them. So we had just moved to Omaha. Her very first pediatrician appointment with this new pediatrician in Omaha, I was like, okay, here's my concerns. She crawled. I mean, she did everything, but just was a little delayed. But he agreed that there were definitely some milestones that she was missing. He told me to put as much fat into her body so she did not drink milk as a baby. And that was his recommendation. Chocolate syrup, strawberry syrup, whatever it took. Get whole milk into this kid's body. So, but also then recommended that, with those early childhood school district evaluations. And so met with that team. I was so naive. I was like, I'm going to have to really convince them that, like, there's something going on. So I remember trying to chase her in our house so they could see her running in this irregular gait, and then watching them do the evaluation. And I don't remember all of it, but for sure one of them was like her ability or inability to stack blocks, and just looking at, like, what they were asking her to do and just going, oh, right, she is struggling with so many tasks that you just don't necessarily realize as a mom, of busy toddlers and not knowing exactly what those milestones were. But yeah, realizing quickly, like, obviously she quickly qualified for early childhood special education services. And yeah.
And, I just, and all the parents that I talk to is like, well, she's just my kid. Like, that's just my kid. And so sometimes we just don't see those things until someone's like, hey, I think we should maybe look at this.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So just thinking about, like, you said she was developmentally delayed at 2. What was it like to hear that she did have a developmental delay? Like, officially?
So we got that school diagnosis in Omaha, but Ryan had already taken a job in Minnesota. So we were already going to be moving to Minnesota. So they recommended that we get a neurology appointment set. So we did that here in the Twin Cities. And that neurology appointment, I mean, it was interesting. Her brain on a scan looks normal, but obviously she has these delays. And so the thing that the neurologist kept saying was just like, we can't limit her potential. We're not sure how far she'll come. You just need to keep helping her the best you can. And man, what I heard was, she's just delayed. We're going to catch up. We're going to work really, really hard, and we are going to catch her up developmentally, and no big deal, right? Like, we are hard workers. Like, that's what we're going to do. And so she started attending a special needs preschool in our school district, and started attending therapy. Quickly, I got her into private therapy. So we just lived and breathed therapy. We did speech and OT and PT at Courage Kinney, and I'm forever grateful to those therapists. I mean, they took Aubrey, her speech therapist, helped her go from word approximations to whole words to whole sentences. Her physical therapist, was working on walking up and down stairs and learning how to ride a tricycle. Our occupational therapist was working on fine motor skills and sensory processing disorder stuff. And just, most kids were playing in the neighborhood and Aubrey's pushing her little shopping cart full of weights, listening to therapeutic listening music so that she can work on her sensory issues. And that was our life, right? Practicing speech over and over and over again. And just working super hard because, we were going to catch up and we were going to be fine.
The hope was there, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's interesting that like one word can like be like, whoop. And now looking back, you're like, wait, is that really what he meant when he said that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Super interesting. Yeah. So then Aubrey gets to is it age 7, right?
Yeah, I think it was actually age 9, but yeah.
Age 9. That's fine. Yeah. It's always 9. What did it feel like to all of a sudden be like, no, she has a disability. Yeah. She is disabled.
So I was homeschooling Aubrey at this point in time. Actually, I was homeschooling both of my kids. And, the advantage of homeschooling for us was that Aubrey was just around typically developing peers. We didn't actually even know of anyone else who had a disability at this point in our life. And so I'm grateful for those like social skills that she just really learned from those peers. But then at age 9, I was like, Ryan, we're just hitting this plateau. She's not progressing in reading and math like I think she should be. And my sister had a master's of psychology, and she just always encouraged me to get a neuropsych eval. And I didn't know why or how that would be helpful. But I was like, I think we need to do a neuropsych, and hoping for like labels that would help me know how to help her, right? I was expecting like dyslexia or ADHD or I don't know, name something that I could research and I could dig in and we could, again, help her. We're going to catch up. Yep. This is just a phase. We're going to figure this out. And I was even reading a book about IQ as she was doing this whole neuropsych evaluation, and this researcher who was improving people's IQs, right? Like that was what the entire book was about. And so the day I remember meeting with that psychologist and getting the results, and she said, Aubrey has an intellectual disability. And I am like, what in the world is that? That is not ADHD. That is not any language I've ever heard in my life. And she was like, well, Tonya, it used to be called mental retardation. And my heart stopped. My brain shut down. I was like, oh, like this is really serious. Like this is nothing I expected. And Ryan, he knew how hard I'd been working, and he looked at the psychologist and he said, you have to explain to my wife that there's nothing she can do that is going to help our daughter.
Yeah.
Like IQ is not, you cannot change it. Like this is who she is, and we're going to just have to accept this. And the psychologist affirmed all of that. And really, it was heartbreaking. The only thing she said to me was she drew, a graph with an XY axis.
Yeah.
Drew developmentally, typically development. And then just said, Aubrey will start close, but we'll just get farther and farther and farther away from her peers the older she gets. And she was like, really, all you guys can do is just prepare for her future. Just save tons of money because she's going to need tons of support and money as she gets older. And I went into that evaluation with hope of like how we're going to help her. And it was like a 180 switch of like just completely dashed hopes, like nothing you can do, just save up tons of money.
Oh, gosh. And I just think like coming in and how like feeling like you have a path, and then all of a sudden the path is like dark and like there's no map. There's no like, it's just save money.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yes.
It just sounds horrible.
And you know what, Jen, at that time, I actually was really questioning the Lord's sovereignty. I was like, okay, Lord, you are sovereign. You have control over everything, but you created this little girl who loves people, who desires to be in relationships with her neighbors and just play with people. And we had great relationships. We had great friends, but we also had so many heartaches on the playground. watching kids like not. Aubrey just couldn't keep up with them physically, right, on the playground. And they would just stare at her or say something mean. And God protected her in that, but he did not protect my heart in that. I saw
because you
all of
could
those
see
moments.
everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And so just really going, Lord, I am trying to follow you, and what, I don't understand. Now, thankfully, I've come full circle when we can get into that at the end, but yeah, really wrestling, right, in just that whole emotionally hard spot that we were just in at that point.
And kind of going along with that, I was kind of wondering, like, what do you think that kind of did with her, like, social and movement through, like, elementary school, like K-5? You said you guys were homeschooling at that point, but you guys went out to the playgrounds. Can you describe a little bit more going into, like, when she would approach somebody, what were some of the responses? Was it positive? Did she have good experiences? And then, you said that you just would catch those things. So you're like, oh,
yes. When you look at Aubrey, you would never know that she has a disability, right? As soon as you look at her. So she would walk into a playground and, would always seek out other friends to play with, or other kids to play with. So at the beginning, they would be excited to play with her, right? But then quickly, they couldn't understand her very well. So there was a language barrier. And then very quickly, they would, run into the monkey bars, or even just run across the playground, and Aubrey could not keep up, or she fell a lot of times on the playground. Just did not have that good core muscle strength. And yeah, she just got left behind all the time. And then kids would look at her funny, right? Like, oh, like, what's wrong with you? Or there's something different about you. And like I said, thankfully Aubrey did not necessarily know that, but her brother and I did, and so there were times that he would step in to help. I would step in. Parents hardly ever stepped in, which I was always so surprised about. I felt like it was usually Austin and I, having to kind of help navigate or distract her. Like, oh, Aubrey, let's just go play over here. Let's let them go play on the tire swing or whatever. And
hard stuff. And like, just thinking back to being a kid, and like how much that playground was like the place to be, and just how many friends that you would like try to engage, and like how hard that was for her.
Yes, for sure.
And okay, so you guys moved to Buffalo when she was in middle school, right?
Yes.
Was it that 7th grade year?
Yeah.
Okay, so can you describe your thoughts coming into the public school? You're like, we're gonna try something.
Yes.
Let's see how it goes. Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so
that's when I got to meet you all.
I know, which was so great. Let me just back up one bit. So we, had that neuropsych eval at 9. And I was like, Ryan, at some point we need to think about public school, right? Like homeschooling, not only was like social interactions in our neighborhood hard, but also just homeschool co-ops, which we were a part of, and a part of our community, were also really hard for Aubrey. She cognitively was not at the same level as her peers, and I was kind of her para. And again, just the emotional toll it was taking on me as her mom was really hard. So we started thinking about public school. And so she actually did an evaluation at our current school district before we moved to Buffalo. And 2 things stood out to me from that evaluation. One, what she clearly qualified, but one was they just talked they talked a lot about the need for her to be in the transition program for as long as possible, because that's where you would really be working on those life skills and job skills. So we decided to put her in school at her age level. In homeschooling, we had kind of held her back a year to kind of give her that advantage. But then the second thing was, when we were doing a tour of the middle school, I met the PE teacher, and I asked him what PE would look like for Aubrey in special education. And he said that the kids in the special education program would all be in a group together by themselves doing the activity. And the rest of the students would be in another group doing the same activity. Maybe that would be playing basketball. And there would be 0 interaction between those 2 groups. And we left that tour, and I was like, Ryan, we are not sending Aubrey to the school, right? We are moving. We're going somewhere else that we will find a different space for her to be involved in school and not segregated. And so then we began the search, right, of where we're going to move. And my son had been trap shooting out in Buffalo. And so we knew some families out here, met with the principal of the middle school, and loved Mr. Lubin. Loved the principal. Sorry. Loved the principal.
You're good.
And and so we decided Buffalo was the place that we were going to move to. So 7th grade year, we moved out to Buffalo, and we're excited to put her in school. Apprehensive as well. First time to do public school. That middle school is huge. There are lots of students at middle school.
It is huge. And it was bigger back then. Like we had more students even than we do right now.
Right. So I feel like the principal said that was like maybe the 4th largest middle school in the entire state.
That time,
or something. Yeah.
At that time it was. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, definitely apprehensive. I didn't know what to expect. I knew she was being placed in her classes based on her IQ. And Aubrey is a different kiddo because her IQ says one thing about her, which is true, cognitive level, academic level, that is a true statement, but her social skills are so much higher than what her IQ would reflect.
Yes,
and so really finding that balance of what makes sense for her in programming can be tricky. And it has kind of continued to be tricky throughout her entire school year because of that social piece that she's so much stronger in.
Yep. Definitely. What did you notice along kind of those lines? What were some of Aubrey's greatest strengths in middle school?
Making friends.
Yes.
All of a sudden, we went from when we were homeschooling to, just a couple sweet neighborhood friends that were really sweet friends to her world exploded. We had friends now in her special ed classroom that she had never had that experience before. And we were just loving and getting to know these peers. But the middle school also did this 8th grade peer mentorship program. And that was our experience in the Unified. And oh my goodness, what an amazing just first taste of what Unified looked like. Aubrey had so many amazing 8th grade peer mentors. She had them, her 7th grade year and then her 8th grade year. And she would get their phone numbers and they would be calling each other after school. So many of them lived really close to us in our neighborhood, and they would come over to our house and play board games with her or color or hang out, go for walks. I cannot believe the amount of people that she got to know in just a year and a half at that middle school, and then continue that into the high school, right? Like, and even today, right? We still have friends that she made back in middle school that are still her friends today.
Yeah. And I know, like, was there a moment when you were thinking about not putting her into high school, like the public high school? Was there like a slight moment? I feel like we had that conversation.
Yes.
Can you talk about that?
I think so. And for sure, maybe her case manager, her freshman year was only at Buffalo High School for 1 year. And I don't think it was a great fit. So I think that freshman year was a super big struggle for her. Basically kind of on just case management issues. The one thing I think the other thing about high school was, Aubrey had these great mentors, but they were going to be freshmen, right? As we all entered into high school together. And I knew there was an opportunity for her to do Unified PE, which I was super excited for her about, but none of her friends were going to be able to take that class because that class was really for juniors and seniors. So really having conversations with admin about how do I help her still maintain these friendships that she's created in middle school? And so talking about that, I can't remember what they called it. It was kind of like that homeroom class at high school.
Yeah, advisory. I think it was advisory.
Yeah, trying to like get her into a class that would have some of those peers that she loved so that she could still have those connections. One other thing about middle school too, that I forgot to mention was not only was Aubrey making lots of friends, but there were a couple of friends who actually reached out to me that were in some of her elective classes. Like there was some kind of tech ed class, and one friend I think sent me a letter to say how the impact that Aubrey had made on them, and was asking if they could get together with us like over spring break. And so this peer and her mom came to our house, right, to like hang out with us because Aubrey had made such a huge impact on this friend that she wanted to get to know her better and was trying to like ask my permission to like be her friend. And just incredible.
So good. Oh my gosh. So going along with the Unified PE stuff. So back at that time, like Unified PE was kind of freshly new. Like it was our new class. She was a freshman. And it was kind of decided that she would do Unified PE at the high school. So I was the teacher. And just for those of you listening, if you're unfamiliar with Unified, Unified is a class where one partner, generally who is more of like that leadership helping, but also on the same level as their teammate who happens to have a disability in its inclusive leadership class. What did you notice as Aubrey entered high school and got into Unified PE, but also Bison Connection, which is our Unified Club? And our Unified Club is a club for all students. It was all access. So anyone who wanted to be in it could be in it. And then it was also a place where our kids with and without disabilities could have a leadership position. And so we had an exec board and all that. And so can you share a little bit about as she entered high school in Unified PE and Bison Connection, what did you start to notice and some things as she started going through high school?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, freshman year was really rough for her. She actually had she had a peer in her special education classroom who actually was even bullying her. And because of Unified PE and Bison Connection and those friendships she had made, Aubrey thrives on social connections. And so at lunch, she was seeking those friends out and eating lunch with peers, not at, a lot of times at high school, you have the table with all the special education kiddos.
Right.
And Aubrey was never sat at that table. She was going out.
She was across the cafeteria.
Totally.
She's gone.
Yes. Seeking out friends. And every quarter, because the high school was on quarters back then, there'd be a new group of friends that she could go and seek out in the lunchroom. So it was like this constant rotation of just amazing people coming into her life. Same with Bison Connection. She was on the exec board, not her freshman year, I'm sure, but like later on in high school, and just that leadership opportunity, just to help her to realize her potential, right? That she actually is a leader. She has good ideas and can learn to express those and work together as a team. That collaboration is huge in those leadership responsibilities. And, I remember not only at lunchtime, but also like before school, she would be at friends' lockers waiting for them to arrive at school so she could say hi to them. And I remember having a couple discussions with her case managers throughout the high school years of like, we're never totally quite sure where Aubrey is, but we know she's always with a friend in the morning.
Then she's always safe. She's always with somebody.
Right. But just always seeking those friends out and those relationships. And that would never have been possible if she had just been back in that sped hallway, right? Like because of the opportunities to engage in the classroom and in Bison Connection and just those opportunities to make relationships and friendships.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And I think too, like she stood out like right away to me as one of those kids that had like leadership potential. And like, we were approached by Special Olympics Minnesota. I remember it was right before Christmas and I got a phone call it was either email or phone call from Special Olympics Minnesota and say, hey, Buffalo High School has been chosen as the representatives to go to Capitol Hill. Would you like a free trip to Capitol Hill with a partner and a teammate? And you're going to go talk to your politicians and your lawmakers about why Special Olympics is important. And I like looked at it and listened or what I can't like, I just remember like sitting with that for a second. I was like, I got to run. I remember running to admin. I was like, we were chosen for this thing. What do we got to do? It had to go through the school board and it was a really big deal, but Aubrey was chosen and she was like my first choice. And then her friend Maya was chosen too. Maya's really big into Unified. She's teaching too. But so we went on this trip to Washington, D.C. So we're staying in the hotel and we go to different workshops of like how to address the politicians and how to ask what I need to ask. And Aubrey ended up being sick as a dog. Goodness. And I could not believe that she like made it as far as she did. But that was one of the most coolest things I've ever done with my students. And I remember when I told you that I wanted her to go, you were like, should I come? Like, do I travel with you? And then when I asked the representative, our liaison, and they're like, this is kind of like a independent trip. And I think we both looked at each other and were like, okay. But it was such a cool thing for her. And like being in a hotel with her buddy and having their own room. And I was right across the hall, but just the big independence piece.
First time for her to go on an airplane.
Yeah.
Ever, right?
Yeah.
With you and her peer, right? Like just incredible.
And she did great with the airplane piece. I'm sure you guys prepped her a lot ahead of time and like what's it gonna be like. This is what it's gonna do. But anyway, but that was literally, looking back in history, that was the last thing we did before the pandemic shut down the whole thing. And so it was kind of a special, like that was the last normal thing we did.
Yes.
So
and everything shut down.
Yep. And I think to get approval, I think we had to go through the school board. We had to approach the school board.
Yes,
do you remember that school board line?
Yes.
I still have the article from that too.
Yes.
And so Aubrey got to attend that meeting and say, hey, I get to go to this. And
Right.
like, what a cool thing to say. Like, I'm a part of my school's leadership and I'm going to go represent Minnesota.
Right.
Like on Capitol Hill.
On Capitol Hill.
Cool.
Right.
So
meeting
cool.
with senators and House representatives and
Yep.
sitting in these amazing chairs and desks and even just what you guys got to do in Washington, D.C., just the sights you saw and just, I mean, it is a trip, like a once in a lifetime trip.
For sure. And like, that will never happen to us ever again. So it was really cool to be able to experience it with her and see it. I think honestly, looking back, like she enjoyed the part with Maya, but I'm having this like memory just shoot before my eyes of her where we were at the Washington Monument, and I think her favorite part was the ducks. Like swimming through.
But Maya would not let her touch the duck. She was so upset. She wanted to touch those ducks. But...
And by then I think she was feeling a little bit better. But it was just such a cool experience because in her eyes, she's like, I'm going on this big trip, but I really like the ducks.
Right. All the amazing things I saw with the ducks.
Oh, and then like kind of building through the pandemic, we had our first mobile polar plunge with Special Olympics Minnesota. And what they did was they brought it was like a mobile trailer pool. They set it up in front of school, and then we all got to fundraise, and some of that money came back to our program. But Aubrey had never jumped in. She does not like cold water. She's not a cold water person. And so if you remember her story, would you be willing to share a little bit about getting Aubrey in the plunge pool?
Well, not only does Aubrey not like cold water, she does not like water in general. Like
she doesn't like getting her hair wet.
No. Oh my goodness. Still today does not like getting her hair wet. When she was little, if she got a drop of water on her clothing, she would have to go immediately change her clothing. So I really wanted her to do the polar plunge, and she really wanted to as well. But I was like, how? Like everything she hates is like the polar plunge. So, but of course, one of her friends in Unified PE encouraged her to do it with him, and he asked her to jump, and so she said yes. And then they had a mutual friend that was on the trap shooting team, and her brother shot trap for Buffalo High School, and so she of course knew everyone on that team. So those two boys were her partners to jump for the polar plunge, and so hyped it up. Aubrey, I think it was that one that we went house to house to like fundraise, and she loved going house to house to ask social strangers for money. One of her highlights. I hated it, but she loved every minute of it. And then the day of the polar plunge, I don't know if you remember that first one. It was snowing outside. It was horrible cold. I was like, there's no way. There's
never sun on our polar plunges.
Never. But up they all climbed to the mobile polar plunge, and there was lots of discussion, and all of a sudden you see the two boys jump in, and then Aubrey sits down on the side and just scoots in, and the guys grab her, and they all just quickly get out of that cold water and go down the stairs together. And oh my goodness, the smile on her face, right? When she was like,
she was so proud of herself.
So proud. And every year after that, she always had friends that she was jumping in the polar plunge with, because no matter, I mean, even though, you would think, oh, that was like really cold, surely she won't do it again. But it was so worth it for her to have that experience every year with new friends and raise that money for Special Olympics.
Yes, so good. And I just remember those boys, like they legit jumped. And then instead of like getting out of the water, they had to turn around and like sit there for a couple extra seconds. Like that was cold water.
And it was cold.
They were so patient. And Aubrey, like she didn't really like wait. Like she was booty scooting as fast as she could, but those boys had to wait just for a hot second.
Right.
And so I remember them being like, okay, let's go.
Come on, come on.
It was such a good memory. Like when I think back of like how she overcame like so many like things, and then to have that just really, I think that was one of my many highlights of her from school.
Well, and she was able to overcome it because of relationships, right?
Because of relationships,
without
absolutely.
those boys in that water, there's no way she would have ever gotten in, right? And that is the beauty of Unified, right? Is just the relationships that get built, and then the support on both sides, right? Like we talked about Aubrey making an impact at someone in middle school, but the impact that her friends made on her as well, right? It's a reciprocal relationship where you can't even describe the impact that those relationships make.
100%. Did you ask Aubrey about her 17th birthday? Does she remember?
She didn't quite remember it, but
can I tell it the way that I
that.
remember it? Because I shared in my keynote, so I know it actually did happen. Because like going back to the story, so I want to say it was her 17th birthday, and we're like, I think it was her junior year. Must have been her junior year. Was it? Maybe you were a sophomore.
Probably.
Anyway, so it's her birthday, and we make a big deal out of birthdays. We sing, we do all this stuff. And Aubrey has some really, really good friends in Unified. She does every year, right? 6 cents for that kind person. And so the way I remember it was one of her partners, one of her buddies, calls her up, was it the day before her 17th birthday? And like, hey, Aubrey, it's your birthday. Can we take you out to breakfast to Perkins? And she turns to you and was like, Mom, can I go? And then I remember you being like, can I come with you?
Right.
And Aubrey responded to you. She goes, no, Mom, I'm 17 years old. I'm going to go out with my friends all by myself. Right. And so that's what I remember. But
I love that.
What I shared in my keynote is like to be able to have the voice to your mom.
Yes.
And say, no, I can go out by myself. I have friends. Like they're going to take care of me. I'm going to be independent. And like, I was so like, when she shared that story or when it happened, or maybe it was the peer that shared it with me. Like, I don't remember how exactly it got to me, but I was just so stinking proud of her. Yes. First of all, the phone call, and I think you had said something like you started crying because
I'm sure
the phone call to Aubrey herself. Right. And then because growing up, you guys didn't have those phone calls.
Those invitations never came, right? Mm-hmm. But because of Unified and these friendships. Well, and now, I mean, I was reflecting about just birthdays and her independence with her friends. Aubrey's social calendar is so busy. Like it's almost a second job for me to like keep up with her social calendar, right? Like she's going to Caribou to get a drink or Applebee's to get fries or out to eat with her friends and always by herself and loves it. Friends pick her up from her transition program, and love just it. So independent and just does not need me for anything. I mean, would be appalled if I showed up, right? Like, what are you doing here? So great.
Oh man. And I just think back, going back to the basketball story, I don't know if we like actually hit on this yet, but okay. So was it her 7th grade year? We sat in the IEP meeting all together, and this was like my first time meeting you. And you're like, what are your dreams for Aubrey? Can you share the one that we?
Yeah. So, I mean, Jen just does such a great job in IEP meetings where she really is partnering and collaborating with parents. And she was like, Tonya, what are your dreams for Aubrey? And, it almost took me aback, right? Like just there's someone on this team that like really wants to know what our dreams are. And I remember just the struggles we had with Aubrey and her neighborhood friends, right? Where we used to live. And we had a basketball goal in our driveway with our new house that we just moved into. And I was like, I would love for her to be able to shoot baskets in our driveway with her brother, with friends in the neighborhood, and just be a kid.
Yeah. And I remember us sitting there like, okay, I can do that. And then we did all the paperwork, and I started, because this was like right away at the beginning of the school year. So I like barely knew her. I'm like, okay, we're going to work on this. And then when she started getting into class and like really trying to shoot, I'm like, oh, this is going to be really hard. This is going to be like, we worked on it, but the motor planning was just so difficult for her. And we just wanted her to do it so bad. And I will say that was like halfway through my career. So I was still like, I wasn't a rookie teacher anymore, but I also like didn't have it all together like I do now. And so But I recognize like, oh man, this is gonna be hard. I wonder if I need to change this. So at the next IEP meeting, like we talked about like, hey, can we work on this, but maybe not take data on it? And we agreed like this is going to be something that we look back at and maybe just work a little bit more on the motor planning pieces and some of the pieces that need to be strung together in order for her to hit that basket. Right. And so again, the social piece for Aubrey was so important, because if we could get her socially connected, then she was going to do more activity. And we talked about that over and over and over in her career. And so once we got into unified PE, I started to figure out some of my, adapted PE hacks. Maybe we aim for a bucket. Maybe we aim for a hula hoop stuck in the bleachers, and maybe we go from sitting and shooting, and then maybe we go to standing. I literally remember going through this whole thing all throughout the years with her. And then we move the dots back a little bit and she shoots from there. And then I think it was the end of her junior year, beginning of senior year. We're doing basketball in unified PE and she's shooting with her buddy. Buddy takes a shot and she goes, Miss Hebink, look. And she takes the shot and it goes in. And it doesn't just go in once, it goes in over and over. And that's just right. And I think I took a video. She's like, Mom, take a video for my mom. And I sent it to you.
Yes.
And I think we both were like, holy cow. Like,
and the cheers from her buddy when she made that shot, right? Like, of course she kept making it over and over again. I mean,
the encouragement from her buddy, like the social, but I also remember like Aubrey's smile, but also like her whole body just gets so excited, right? Like her hands like get excited and they wave and then I did it, and she goes all into it. And so leading up to her senior year was just a really important time to get that motor planning figured out, the social pieces and the encouragement figured out. And then she goes, Miss Hebink, I want to play unified basketball. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how? Because in the past, she's like, I don't want to do that. That's going to be hard. I don't want to do that. Like, I will cheer, but I am not going to do that. Right. And so I remember it. I remember you sitting behind me, right? You were right behind me on the bench and I was coaching and it was her turn to go in. And I was like, Aubrey, you ready to go? Yeah, let's go. Yeah. So I put her in and she gets the ball and she gets it on one side of the court and she has to get to the other side to score, right? And I remember her getting the ball in her hands and she just turns around and starts running. I'm like, Aubrey, you have to dribble. Dribble. And she maybe puts it down once. She gets to like inside the free throw line.
Yeah.
Like her special little spot.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is in front of the whole school.
Yes.
Like
the whole entire student body.
The whole school. So she stands in her spot, she puts it up and it goes in and the whole school goes wild.
Yes.
And we have a picture of it and I share it wherever I go. Did I ever share that with you?
Yes.
I might have
yes.
that. Yep.
Oh, yep. It's incredible.
And what I love about that picture, because it catches that moment just fully. So she's excited. She's doing her hand wave. She's yelling and screaming and just happy. But then her peers around her.
Yes.
They're all looking at her and clapping and just cheering. And like, I think we both looked at each other and we both started crying because we're like, oh my gosh, she did it. Like, this is what we wanted her to do in 7th grade.
Right.
And here we are. It took the social pieces. It took the motor planning pieces. It took the time. Yeah. It took the different adapted PE, hacks as I call them, or just like different manipulatives that we can use to aim, and like just putting all those pieces together when kids have the right supports and we give them the time, and we don't, like you said, like don't put her in a box. Like possibilities are endless, but like sometimes it's so hard to see like that is possible.
Yes.
Right. And so when I go talk to people, I share this story because this is one that I will carry forever, but also she will carry forever. Yeah. And like the whole school, like, and her peers and like everybody, then you crying and me crying.
Right.
It was just one of those moments where like, I just couldn't believe that we had gotten that far. And there she was.
It's all worth it, right? Like all that brainstorming and work, right? To get to that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%. So as we're moving through, we're going to talk a little bit maybe about advocacy in a couple minutes here, but And I think we're going to go more than an hour if that's okay. I do have to get done at a certain time, but we got more to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to talk about the transition stuff because
Yeah.
she's in her transition year. Her high school career is over.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to transition out. And so I want you to share a little bit about what you've been thinking about, what's a little bit different than high school, and what are some things that you're thinking about for her future?
Yeah. Well, I think it was either her junior or senior IEP meeting when I finally got to the point where I was like, you know what? I always cared so much about IEP goals, right? Like we have to keep pushing her hard. I still had that mentality of I knew we were never going to catch up, but I wanted her to reach her full potential. And it was either junior or senior year where I was like, you know what, Lord, this is who she is. Like, we don't have to keep working super hard. We can just be excited about what she does well. And like, yes, there are things we all can work on throughout our entire life, right? We're never going to stop, but like, we're not fighting hard to like change who she is anymore. And for me, that was when that kind of sovereignty of the Lord came full circle for me, right? Like, you have created this little girl with so many gifts and talents, and I just need to like lean into like how the Lord's created her.
Yes.
And so for us, as we think about transitioning out life post school, we're super excited about it, actually. I mean, there are definitely fears about like, what will life look like? And, she definitely, she needs to stay busy. But I'm so excited about the possibilities of her engaging in the community. So I already know she already volunteers at our public library. She will continue to do that post transition. She loves working at the nursing home, like when they play bingo here in Buffalo. And so we're going to continue to expand just hanging out at the nursing home. We actually have 2 golden retrievers, and our second one is 7 months old, and we're hoping he'll become a therapy dog so that Aubrey can go into nursing homes or the library and do therapy dog, things with him. She actually loves to hang up clothes and work in thrift stores. So I don't know, one huge dream that we have, and who knows if it'll come true, but could she ever work like at a Maurice's, like for just a few hours a day, or a Target, or, Walmart or whatever. Or if not, there are so many thrift stores that are just amazing that we can just volunteer at. So finding that purpose for her, is so important. We've talked continually about just that social aspect is so important to her life. So Aubrey will never sit in some kind of workroom and just put widgets in a bag. She will need to be engaged with people, and really the possibilities are endless, right? Like, you just keep going through the next door and just trusting the Lord as to what he has planned for our future. And so we're actually super excited about
what that's so great. I just hear about so many families that are like, oh, we're so nervous for when we transition out, we don't get the services, but like, you guys have such a great, like, just head on your shoulders, faith in God, and just knowing like, this is who she is. This is where we're going to roll with it. We know where she's going. So,
for sure.
But I want to talk a little bit about like when Aubrey was in high school, you guys kind of started to recognize some of the powerful things that Unified did and does. And the word inclusion, which we use so much in our school, is a big movement at our school, still is, and was when Aubrey was there. But you kind of recognize how Aubrey was thriving with her peers, but our community has kind of a lot of growing to do when it comes to inclusion. But your family has taken big steps in your community. Can you share a little bit about like your church and your project that you proposed and where it's at right now and how that looks?
Yes. So when Aubrey was in 8th grade, I actually would drive her to and from the middle school, and I saw individuals waiting in the parking lot to go into an employment place for individuals with disabilities. And I remember driving past that parking lot every day, 2 times a day, and just asking the Lord, like, Lord, who is going to reach that population with the gospel? Like, there's these adults with disabilities, and who is sharing that good news with them? And he really just said, Tonya, I think you need to be a part of that. So I started a little tiny Bible study with Aubrey and 3 of her friends in her 8th grade year. And my husband and my son were a part of that. And then very quickly, numbers started to grow. And one of her 8th grade mentors, and she heard about it, she went to my church and she was like, I would love to be a part of that. And so she and her mom and her sister also joined us in leadership. And so from the very beginning, this like Bible study youth group type thing had unified just written all over it, right? We had students with disabilities and students without just coming together to like learn about the Lord and to just build experiences together. So that group quickly outgrew my home. So I talked to, we were going to Buffalo Covenant and asked Dave McAlena, our executive director, if I could partner with Buffalo Covenant and we could start to meet there. And immediately the answer was yes. I mean, BCC has just been so supportive of this entire group and just giving us resources and whatever we needed to just make this group happen. So from the beginning, BCC has just been a huge champion of what today we now call Access Impact Ministry. As I was leading this group, though, and getting that going, I spoke at an adult Sunday school class at our church. And I was just talking about how one of the least reached people groups is individuals with disabilities, because so often our churches do not support them. I mean, we have stories with life before Buffalo Covenant of really hard things at church with Aubrey. And just, it's hard. Church is hard, or it can be hard. And so just sharing, that, some statistics from Dr. Eric Carter, who's like a leading expert in faith and disability. And he shares that 52% of adults with an intellectual disability don't attend a faith-based community. And 56% of parents kept their child with a disability from participating in church due to a lack of support. And just sharing those statistics, sharing like, if individuals with disabilities are not coming to church, their families are not coming to church. And so really, this is just a population that's not reached with the gospel. And our missions team heard me talk about that, and their hearts were just stirred. Like, Lord, what do we need to do to reach this population? And every year around Christmas time, Buffalo Covenant does a Christmas Love Project where we raise money or sponsor some kind of missions that our church just supports financially. And so in 2021, the Christmas Love Project, we set a goal to raise $125,000 to build an all abilities playground on site at Buffalo Covenant.
Amazing.
And really, our heart was that we wanted to be a place where kids of all abilities could come and play at a playground, right? Just like Aubrey struggled on that playground when she was little, tripping and falling over mulch and gravel and grass. We wanted a surface that was smooth, that wheelchairs could roll onto that, where elderly grandparents could walk without stumbling and falling. A place that had ramps up to that playground equipment so that our friends in wheelchairs and our friends on feet could just be playing side by side and really building those relationships, right? Like what I had seen at Buffalo High School, right? The importance of learning together and becoming better as we play together. So in the course of 5 weeks, our church raised over $600,000.
Oh my word. I remember you saying that. Now, oh my gosh. I remember you saying that you had it like this and they gave it like 10, 20 like percent more. Like
it was
just happened really quick.
Amazing. Like our church really loves and believes that everyone is created in the image of God, right? That each one of us is so important. And just the outpouring of support was just so evident. And there's just been so many amazing stories from that playground. One of my favorites is that there was an adult who came who had never been in a swing before in her life. And so they transferred her out of her wheelchair into one of our swings, and she was able to swing for the very first time. One of my friends who uses a wheelchair, I was showing him the plans for the playground to say, anything you'd want to change. And there's one part of the playground, the very top side, that you cannot access if you're in a wheelchair. And up at that top, I had a tic-tac-toe game for friends to play with together. And he was like, could you just please bring that down to the ramp level? And it was, of course, that done. We will bring the tic-tac-toe board down so you can play it with your friends. We've seen schools use this playground. I mean, it's open to anyone. We love for people to come and use this. And just really, it's a gift to our community of just kids being kids and playing side by side, kids of all abilities playing.
Yeah. And, our kids, our students go there for field trips. Yeah. And I've seen posts. Okay. I was not told this was happening, but like people, some PE classes from like Dassel Cokato will like field trip out. And like my friend teaches there. He didn't like tell me he was coming, but he made a post about it. And then I reposted it because I'm like, yes, use this playground. Yes. And just like the most special, like just connections happen
Yeah.
through play, right?
Oh, yes.
Just so good.
Yes.
So
Well, and then because of that playground, really our church is saying we are open. We want people of all abilities to come to our church, right? And so I
yes.
got the privilege of coming on staff to work part-time as I was doing this like middle school through high school and adult youth group for individuals with disabilities. But then quickly became full-time, right? As we're figuring out children's ministry and helping kids to be included in our children's ministry programming, Sunday school and vacation Bible school and Awana, and just supporting students really, really well. And it is such an honor, right? To welcome families to our church and just make the gospel accessible, right? I mean, that's why it's called Access Ministries. I want that gospel to be accessible to whatever whoever you are, right? Is the gospel's for everyone. And so come be a part of that.
So good. Well, we're going to move into our final portion here of the show. So let's hop forward to takeaways. So I'm going to share my takeaways and then Tanya's going to share hers. But I think just sitting down with you, Tonya, my biggest takeaway is just like the full circle of story of your guys' family story and Aubrey's story and how it started just like so hard. Like knowing she is such a wonderful, made by God little girl. And now, like, could you have possibly imagined that this is what it was going to look like?
No.
Like, and so, like, that's what's sitting with me right now is like the unknown becomes known. And just the faith that you had and the things that you noticed in your daughter that you were able to advocate for, that we grew in teaching her by the unified framework, which, by the way, I think you've heard has grown in Buffalo High School because we do it so well. And other teachers have said, hey, I want to teach that class too. We have a unified acting class this year.
What?
Stage acting. Yes.
Oh,
so, and next year will be unified science. So it's like slow, like we're trying to just get things out there. Anyway, so what has worked so well with that unified thing, you guys have taken and brought to your community, and really like it's unified. It's not like connected to Special Olympics, but the fact that it's building those relationships, right? The things that Aubrey was really good at that you guys noticed that you guys want for her, but also just your community and how your church kind of just was able to just jump in and be stirred and moved by the Holy Spirit and just jump right in and say, hey, we want to be a part of that. Because honestly, like I look at churches just across our state and we don't have that. Like that is not here. And like I'm an advocate at my church. It's not going to be happening anytime soon there, right? But to know that someday, hopefully it'll look a lot like yours across the state for that. And I love how you took just such a thing that you knew was so good for your kid and for all kids and just like said, hey, this has to change. And that's how you're an advocate and a visionary for your kid and in your community. And that's why I introduced you as such. So that was my takeaway. What's your takeaway, Tonya?
Oh, I have so many takeaways, but kind of my top two is, Jen, I learned from you. I also coach Special Olympics. I coach bocce ball, and I think you use the word world changers, that our students are world changers, right? They are changing community. They're going to change the job, the look of employment, right? As they graduate and become employers themselves. The way that we change the world is through our students. It's through those young people and equipping and allowing them to have opportunities to have relationships with students of all abilities. And, I look back at our journey and our story, and I am constantly amazed at how the Lord uses each and every one of us. I love my friends with disabilities at church and just watching them serve and glorify him through greeting or ushering or on stage singing or saying a prayer. The body of Christ is made up of many parts, and all those parts are important. And I learned that from what you taught me from school, and I've just carried that on and just applied that to really like what it looks like to live out our faith, right? in a gospel way, in a way that's centered on the heart of Jesus, which is that the gospel really is for everyone, and that we each are made in his image, and we're each a part of his body. And so let's live like we're a huge, valuable member of that body.
Amen, sister. Preach. Oh, so good. All right. Well, we're going to wrap up the show with some thank you. So if you are listening, if you're following the show, thank you so much. And Tonya, thank you so much for just being yourself, bringing your story. Oh, this was so good. Just the authenticity, and just the heartbeat, right? Heartbeats of adapted PE. We were in that heart storytelling today. But thank you so much for listening to episode 11. You can find Fit and Fun, who is our 25-26 sponsor, on X. But be sure to check them out. They have amazing equipment and some things for people who move differently and have unique abilities. So be sure to check them out. Thank you, Pam Gunther, for your support. And you can follow us on social media. We're on X at Heartbeats of Adapted PE. And same for Blue Sky at Heartbeats of APE at bluesky.social. You can always email us at heartbeatsofadaptedpe@gmail.com. And then the places that you can watch our YouTube page, and that's at Heartbeats of Adapted PE podcast on YouTube. So when you search, you can do the at Heartbeats Adapted PE podcast. And then the Health and Physical Education Collective has over 1,000 physical education and health teachers all in one place. It's like X without the noise of all the other media and things going around. Is just PE and health teachers. So that is also where you can find this podcast. And also Shape America has picked up this podcast. That is our national organization for health, physical education, and adapted PE. So you can check it out on their YouTube page. And with that, you can also find us on not only social media, but you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. This episode will be uploaded shortly after this podcast is over, maybe later into the night. And I just want to thank you so much again for joining us for episode 11. Thank you, Tonya, one more time. We will see you in February for episode 12. Thanks, everyone.